Ladies and gentlemen, it's truly over for Volodymyr Zelensky. It's over for him. America doesn't want to see him anymore. Yes, what Zelensky experienced in Washington, at the White House, in other words, the Western media didn't connect all the information. Despite the fact that some say, yes, he came back empty-handed. At least if he had just come back empty-handed, it would have been better. But the humiliation he experienced, I'm telling you, the Western media won't talk to you about this. No, never since the beginning of the conflict has Zelensky ever been humiliated like what he went through at the White House. Yes, Donald Trump showed that he's no longer a president. Yes, he can't be treated as an equal. Do you see this picture? Look very closely. I want you to take the time to really look, to scrutinize the image. Look towards the back there. See the White House that's in the background over there. Very good. Zelensky was not allowed to hold his press conference inside the White House. He's not clean. He's not worthy of the dignity required to hold a press conference inside the White House. You know, usually after meetings between heads of state, a press conference is held. Generally, it's with both of them. Or if it's not with both, the president who went in to meet his counterpart, though that's rare, should still hold a press conference since journalists need to know what happened and what the prospects are. He was not allowed at all. Zelensky was not allowed. And do you see the image? Look closely at the image. Look very closely. Then I'll tell you where he was forced to hold his press conference. Before continuing with the conference, I ask you to share it as much as possible. It needs to be shared in every possible group. You need to give it lots of likes. And above all, don't forget, of course, to make sure so that all groups can receive and understand that the situation is more unfavorable than ever for Zelensky. America no longer sees anything in him, basically. Yes. Where Zelensky is right now. It must be said that, according to official information, he was not authorized to speak from inside the White House. The chosen location. It's just a public area behind the White House fence, not even in the grounds, but behind the fence, under the watch of American security services, far from the flag and the presidential seals of the United States. I said Donald Trump didn't even want the American flag to appear behind him. America shouldn't even be associated with the statement he's about to make. It's in a public park. He was going to make his statement. When he came out, the journalists followed him. They went out far, far away like some ordinary person. Even though he made a considerable effort, he diligently tried to put on a formal suit. Always to please the Americans. Because the first time he came to see Donald Trump, he was dressed in military attire. They said that it's showing disrespect for American institutions, so now when he comes in a suit. Despite everything, he wasn't allowed to give his speech, to hold his press conference. But don't you see that's a disgrace? It's starting to rain again. We thank God who blesses us with rain, since there are countries that never see rain. There you go. So then, the image. This image you see here, you can see it's the image of an isolated president. That's what comes across in the image. It's an isolated president. America is not with him. There's no one by his side. He's holding his press conference behind the yard, right at the fence of the White House. Not even somewhere inside, within the White House grounds. It's out back. That means America is tired of him. So it's the image of an isolated president. Of a president without allies. The image of a president who speaks alone to the press, distanced from power. He is distant from American power. He is still begging for help. I'm telling you, this is the same man who was being celebrated yesterday. He is now being kept at a distance in the name of strategic realism. Who could have imagined at the start of the conflict that Zelensky would end up here like this? He too, if he's smart, should just resign in the end. But Zelensky won't do it because as long as the war goes on, he keeps getting a lot of money. So, what just happened, which Western media are barely talking about, and which I urge you to share as widely as possible, is a sign of a new era in Washington. It's a diplomatic turning point because Trump's America now acts according to its own interests without sentiment or illusions. There are no feelings involved. Will Donald Trump keep meeting with him? He holds his press conferences at the White House, even though that's what fuels the conflict, even though it's neither legal nor legitimate. So what Donald Trump just did like that, it proves a point. It proves a point for Vladimir Putin. Yes, who says that Zelensky is not legitimate, that he can't negotiate peace with him? And this is what America has just demonstrated. I would like you to make sure the whole world can see this. You see, the Westerners look at these Americans. When they no longer have any interest in being with you, they leave you. Zelensky sold out his country's economy. They signed an agreement, didn't they? You saw it. At that time, he was respected. The agreement is there. America is going to exploit all the rare earth natural resources in Ukraine. Now, when he comes to the White House, he isn't even allowed to make his statement inside. It's outside, like some vulgar man, just an ordinary person. So it's a chilling silence. And it's the end of the blank check. Zelensky himself is discovering that the White House is cold and pragmatic. And the White House is already preparing for peace. But even from that perspective, this is not the way to do it. It's a chilling silence, since no high-ranking American official stood by his side. Someone should normally be at his side. What amounts to an official humiliation? It's an official humiliation. It needs to be said clearly. It's a humiliation. So in the end, Trump is imposing his breakaway diplomacy by humiliating his former ally. We don't know if all this will mean anything to Zelensky or if he'll just keep strutting around. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here is the sad reality. Thank you for sharing it. I'll be back with more news for you shortly. That was the voice of your humble servant, Mr. Murad.